We'll call the meeting to order at 6:01. The emergency exits are over here to the left and behind us, and go downstairs directly outside the doors. Please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States and to the republic which stands one nation indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Mrs. Geller,
I'm here.
Mr. Jackson,
Here.
Mrs. Snyder, Mrs. Gendron,
Here.
Mrs. Paradis,
Here.
Mr. Droz,
Here.
and Mrs. Burwell.
Here.
So at this time, I'm going to open the floor for nominations for President of the Board of Education for the 2026 school year. Do I have a motion to open the floor?
Make a motion.
I'll second it. Mrs. Geller,
Yes.
Mr. Jackson,
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder,
Yes.
Mrs. Gendron,
Yes.
Mrs. Paradis,
Yes.
Mr. Droz,
Yes.
and Mrs. Burwell.
Yes.
The floor is now open for nominations for President for the Board of Education for the 2025-2026 school year. Do I have a nomination?
I'd like to nominate Margaret Gillett. You said president.
Yes. President first. There are no other nominations for the office of president. I will close the floor for nominations. Do I have a motion to close the floor?
Yes. I'll make the motion.
Awesome.
Roll call, Mrs. Geller.
Yes.
Mr. Jackson.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes.
Mrs. Gendron.
Yes.
Mrs. Paradis.
Yes.
Mr. Droz.
Yes.
And Mrs. Burwell.
Yes.
Motion that Mrs. Geller be elected President of Board of Education for the 2025-2026 school year. Make a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you.
Second it.
One more roll call. Mrs. Geller.
Yes.
Mr. Jackson. Mrs. Snyder.
Yes.
Mrs. Gendron.
Yes.
Paradis.
Yes.
Mr. Droz.
Yes.
And Mrs. Burwell.
Yes.
Now administer the oath of office. President of the. Raise your right hand.
I, Margaret Giller, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of Board of Education President for the 2025-2026 school year according to the best of my ability.
And at this
Okay,
time,
my
I
turn.
turn it over to you. Thank you.
Okay, at this time, do I have a motion to open the floor for nominations for the office of the Vice President of the Board of Education for the 2025-2026 school year?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Thank you. With a roll call?
Nope, sorry. Mrs. Geller,
Yes.
Mr. Jackson,
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder,
Yes.
Mrs. Gendron,
Yes.
Mrs. Paradis,
Yes.
Mr. Droz,
Yes.
and Mrs. Burwell.
Yes. The floor is now open for nominations for Vice President for the Board of Education for the 2025-2026 school year. Do I have a nomination?
Nominate Jackson.
Any other nominations? If there are no other nominations for Vice President, I will close the floor for nominations. Do I have a motion to close the floor?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Mrs. Geller,
Yes.
Mr. Jackson,
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder,
Yes.
Mrs. Gendron,
Yes.
Mrs. Paradis,
Yes.
Mr. Droz,
Yes.
and Mrs. Burwell.
Yes. Can I get a motion that Rick Jackson be elected Vice President for the Board of Education for the 2025-2026 school year.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Mrs. Geller,
Yes.
Mr. Jackson,
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder, Mrs. Gendron,
Yes.
Mrs. Paradis,
Yes.
Mr. Drost, and Mrs. Burwell.
Yes. At this time, the district clerk will administer the oath of office to the Vice President, Mr. Jackson. Congratulations. I think.
All right, that's it.
All good.
Okay. Raise your right hand.
I, Richard Jackson, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of Board of Education Vice President of the 25-26 school year, according to the best of my ability.
Well done.
Sworn President.
At this time, it will be our pleasure for our district clerk to administer our oath of office to our ex officio student board member and student alternate board member for the 2025-26 school year. Ladies, if you could, you're gonna go.
Yeah. So if you want to raise your right hand, and then you're just going to read this. Okay?
I, Brittany Valencia, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of ex-officio student board member 2025 to 2026 student year, according to the best of my ability.
Sign here. Perfect. Right. Okay. And then you're going to raise your right hand and read this whole first section up to here.
I, Heba Janae, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and I will faithfully discharge the duties of ex officio student board member 2025 to 2026 school year, according to the best of my ability.
Good job. Sign right there, of course. Perfect. Thank you.
Congratulations. We'll move on to administering the oath of office to our newly appointed board members for their terms for the 2027, expiring in 2027-2028 school year. Ms. Burwell, would you like to take your oath of office?
Yes. Gets to be.
So I put it in tonight. Raise your right hand. No.
Yes. I, Sarah Burwell, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of Board of Education member for 2027-2028 school year according to the best of my ability.
Thank you. Thank you. Ms. Paredes?
Raise your right hand.
I, Susan Paredes, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of Board of Education member through 2027 to 2028 school year, according to the best of my ability.
Thank you.
And Ms. Hunter.
Raise your right hand. And steps it forward.
I, Mary Ann Gendron, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of Board of Education member through 2027-2028 school year, according to the best of my ability.
Great, thank you. Okay, can I get a motion that the Board of Education appoint Ashley Simmons to the position of District Clerk for the 2025-2026 school year?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second her.
Mrs. Geller,
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder, Ms. Gendron,
Yes.
Mrs. Paredes.
Yes.
Mr. Droz,
Yes.
Mrs. Burwell,
Yes.
and Mr. Jackson.
Yes. Please raise your right hand.
I, Ashley Simmons, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of District Clerk for the 2025-26 school year, according to the best of my ability. And then you have to. Thank you.
Wow, settled that down. Okay, so now we're going to move on to our reorganization agenda. So you have two agendas in front of you. One is the reorganization meeting and one is this meeting. So at this time, we're looking at reorganization meeting. Does the board have any discussion of agenda items? I'm just going to ask for a motion. I'd like to look at 6C10. It is actually on the back of your agenda. There are two positions, substitute maintenance mechanic and substitute cleaner, that are repeated twice in the same action item. I'd like to get a motion to modify that to remove the duplicate. So the two at the top were actually from a prior school year and don't have the correct per hour amount, but the two at the bottom are the correct per hour amount. So I'd like to see if we could get a motion to remove that section from that agenda
I
item.
would like to make that motion.
Thank you.
I'll second it.
So we're just going to take a roll call to
Okay,
modify.
so Mr. Jackson,
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder,
Yes.
Mrs. Gendron,
Yes.
Mrs. Paredes,
Yes.
Mr. Dross,
Yes.
Mrs. Burwell,
Yes.
Mrs. Geller.
Yes. So now that will read in our minutes that we've made that adjustment and it will read without those. Does the board have any other discussion of agenda items from the reorganizational meeting? Any community discussion of agenda items from the reorganizational meeting? Okay, with none? Reading a second. I just wanted to point out, we have 7A, official undertakings for our bonds. It reads that the Board of Education bonds placed through the use of faithful performance blanket bond for Commissioners Regulations 170.2. Can I get a motion that the Board of Education adopt the following resolutions of the July 2nd, 2025 reorganization agenda? 6A, 1 through 25, B, 1 through 18, C, 1 through 10, and 7A.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Mr. Jackson,
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes.
Mrs. Gendron,
Yes.
Mrs. Paredes,
Yes.
Mr. Dross.
Yes.
Mrs. Burwell,
Yes.
and Mrs. Geller.
Yes. Okay, any comments from Board of Education members on anything else not related to the reorganization agenda? If not, we will make a motion or from community members on anything not related to the reorganization agenda. We will move to make a motion to adjourn the reorganization meeting at 6:15 PM and enter into a regular business meeting. Can I get a motion?
Make the motion.
I'll second it.
Mr. Jackson,
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder,
Yes.
Mrs. Gendron.
Yes.
Mrs. Paredes,
Yes.
Mr. Dross,
Yes.
Mrs. Burwell,
Yes.
and Mrs. Geller.
Yes. So now we're switching agendas to our business meeting agenda. I'm going to call the meeting to order at 6:19 PM. Again, emergency exits to inside on the front. We've already done the Pledge of Allegiance and our roll call. I think we just need to, do we need to do a roll call for this for entering into the meeting?
I think so.
Okay, let's do it. Why not? We've done it so many times already. We're getting good at it.
Start with Mr. Jackson.
Correct.
Okay, Mr. Jackson,
Here.
Mrs. Snyder. Here. Mrs. Gendron.
Here.
Mrs. Paredes,
Here.
Mr. Dross,
Yeah, here.
Mrs. Burwell,
Here.
and Mrs. Geller.
I'm here.
Okay.
So now I will turn the meeting over to Superintendent O'Shea, who will provide us with our district report.
Thank you, everyone. So first, we're going to start with the Code of Conduct public hearing. The Code of Conduct, the proposed Code of Conduct has been posted to our district website. This is an overview of the components of the Code of Conduct, and I'm not going to go through the different sections right now. I will highlight any changes in a couple minutes. So you might recall in the 23-24 school year, we made a number of changes to our Code of Conduct. Last year, we made just one minor verbiage change. This year, the proposed change, and in the code that you received and on the website, it's in red, has to do with the use of metal detectors. And primarily, if there is suspicion that a student has a weapon, we would authorize administration to use the metal detector, the handheld I'm going to go a little bit further in a minute beyond the handheld. What it also does in the language and the way it's written, you might recall when Mrs. Tarlow and Ms. Bratt talked about the yonder pouches, they also talked about, if a student did not have their yonder pouch with them and said that they didn't have the cell phone, that, this could be used as a detection for that too. So the way this has been run through council, the way that it's written allows that to happen as well. In drafting this and putting this together, the suggestion was, and right now, our plan is to use the handhelds. The high school has ordered them, the middle school will be ordering them. But this language would allow us, at a future time, if, we deemed necessary due to, certain level of risk, to also implement, walkthroughs. That's not the plan now. We would talk about it, but it does give us the broader language and authorization, which is why we included it. So again, talks about minimally intrusive. It's to maintain a safe educational environment, can be used at any activity where we believe a safety threat would be present, and could also be for random screening, and can take place not just during the day, but could happen at a school activity or other district-sponsored event. So that is the proposed language to be added. So the draft was posted, and public comments are to, any comments on this are to be directed to Ashley Simmons, District Clerk. And when finalized, it will be recommended for adoption at this board meeting. It's always given to new staff upon hire. We'll be giving the full code to all of our staff, discussed at opening staff meetings, and in have plain language summaries. A couple of years ago, the board had asked, could we please make sure the plain language summaries are written at an age-appropriate level? So we moved to having different versions based on the age of the student. So this would be added. So that is our public hearing.
So I just wanted to know, I know that we had all spoken and we have spoken extensively on this yonder pouch, implementation. Part of that, the policy committee met, we did talk about our student policy with electronic devices. So you'll see that we're going through the first reading today. So this is really just our first step of having the hearing, getting our first reading of the policy done so that we can stay in our timeline for the yonder pouch implementation system.
And the code of conduct refers to the student cell phone electronic device policy. So it's mentioned in there, and then that's why it would go hand in hand with the policy. And since we're talking about, I can talk a little bit. I know you have the proposed policy, so at the middle and high school, this would be yonder pouches, as we've discussed. The policy talks about how parents can communicate with the school, what would happen on a first offense. The cell phone would be held in the office to the end of the day. The student would take that home. Second offense, then it would be held until a parent comes. And then there can also be, disciplinary action as outlined, depending on, if there's also insubordination, et cetera. At the elementary, we're not using pouches, still no cell phones. Our schools are a bit different. Some schools have a cubby in every classroom, others don't. So it's a little broader. It says cubby, teacher directed storage. The rest of the policy is the same. There are some exceptions. If a student's IEP or or 504 plan indicates that it's something that's needed. If there's a medical reason, it has to go through a process though with medical notes, approval by the district, and that's all in the policy. So, okay. We'll do this now, is that okay? I'll do the reports and do this later. Okay, you know what? That's right. Because all my reports are right here. No slides. That's what I was thrown off. So I did want to give you some updates, and Dr. Mundell could not make it this evening, but he and PJ were very much involved in applying for a school violence prevention grant through the Department of Justice, and working with our BOCES grant service. There was a plan outlined in that grant to address security improvements across all school buildings in the district. It was submitted on June 25th. And I did share this with you in an update, but some of the main areas these were discussed at different safety committee meetings throughout the year. Blue light notification outside of the building, ballistic film on doors, updated security surveillance through camera systems, a door sensor system tied into security operations, and then more of an integration of PA with other security systems. So thanks to Dr. Mundell and PJ, and I know Laura Tarlow was involved as well in terms of really creating a security hub at the high school for the security officers. Dr. Mundell also wanted to give an update on trauma-skilled schools. On June 9th, the trauma-skilled schools teams from the high school in Abram Lansing participated in a day-long training. There were 2 steps: building the knowledge of trauma impact and building a culture of resilience. So that was the team that'll be the lead. And the plan is at our superintendent's conference day in September to introduce that program to the entire staff at the high school in Abram Lansing. And there's already discussions about in subsequent times to bring it to the middle school. We do have a new principal as of yesterday, Heather Brott, who has already received training, and then with a rollout plan across the district. So we'll keep you posted. Some other things I wanted to give you an update on, alternative programming. So Cohoes High School and Cohoes Middle School have worked through the staffing of the program, and they're currently working on the recommendation of students, and we'll reach out to parents. We originally wanted to use the Connect Center. We're still looking at ways to partner with the Connect Center because of their, STEM activities and many 21st century activities that they have. But State Ed came back with a long list of things that would have to be rectified. So we did have some backup plans. So Laura and Tim met with Tim Moore from Spindle City. The architect looked at that, thought that might be a location that would be more feasible more quickly. We also, I think you heard that the former community center where that used to be is opening in August, owned by through the county. So we're looking at that. And finally, if an off-site location does not work, there is a middle school location with a separate entrance and all of that. We would prefer off-site, which is why we're working through these, but we have backup plans and are confident that we'll be able to open. Remember, the program will start later and end earlier than the normal school day. We were able to, Laura and Heather were able to look at staffing, and actually by looking at sections and reduced sections because of students being recommended, do it with less staff than were originally in the budget. So with a robust program, a dedicated safety monitor. And our staff are receiving training on project-based learning this month to really work towards making sure the, activities are hands-on and engaging. So,
So have we already identified the staff that will be working and they are,
staff knows they're on board, they're excited. There was communication, throughout the spring. And then you might have seen a posting for a few point twos. Those were the staffing that we did need. So we'll provide all that information to you.
and can you give us just an idea of what state ed came back to say was wrong, with the space that we couldn't use?
Yes, so it is perfectly fine for the events that take place at Connect Center and even for when we're using it for after-school events. It's just that if it's a new program, then it has to meet the same level of code as a new building. So there were different, school codes. And so there were different areas, and I can share that as well. Some of it just has to do with the physical location, with the exits, where the space between rooms. But it's perfectly fine and wonderful for us to use it for esports, after-school programming, for Connect Center, for all their activities. It was just the requirements for programming.
And what is the timeline for investigating these other, I understand that the community center is not opening until August, but are we currently having those conversations? Like, what are we looking at as far as, we don't have a ton of meetings in the summertime, so I'm just, thinking we could be thoughtful about where we are in the timeline. Our next meeting would be at the end of this month, right? So what do you expect would happen between?
So, state ed is one of the groups that we have to work with. So we're still needing to get feedback on Spindle City, et cetera. I would say that at an August meeting.
Okay. And what is our threshold for enrollment? What do we believe we're going to be looking at?
We believe we're looking at 15 ninth graders, 15 10th graders, and 8 to 10 middle school students. Max, that's max.
Okay. Is there any question?
You asked my question.
What's that?
I was wondering the timeline as well. So you-
Oh, okay. I think, one of the priorities of which we've all discussed is making sure that we have this in place, and it's something that, kids actually can start the school year there, so that there is, that still integration of the first day of school and having all of those things. So I think that's still a priority, and we feel that we can find a space that will accommodate us to be able to do that.
And Tim will be at the July 30th meeting. Laura and Tim have been meeting. They met with Tim Moore. They met with the architects. So they would both have even more fine-tuned information, and welcome to share any in the future, and share some more specific updates. Two other things I shared with you from Rachel Marshall, that Northern Rivers, which is in our Cohoes Middle School, is currently a fee-for-service model, meaning students, family members use their insurance and they bill their insurance. Currently, there are 4 days a week. Under the current model, has to move to 2 days a week. It's not because there are a lack of families and students. It's because of the attendance of some of the existing in the system. So Rachel's been working closely, did see if there was any way to build any type of buffer, have it, have them wait. There is not, so couple things, she's reached out through her Office of Mental Health grant. This would be another discussion at our next meeting. If they say it's something that they would be willing to pay through the grant, is it something that we want to then look at through a different model with Northern Rivers? Originally, the district started through the model where it was paid through funds, and then it moved to through service. The other thing is Rachel has been working on a company that does some virtual counseling. Other districts have used it, and there is some good feedback. So I'm going to have Rachel provide more information to you in November, but I wanted to make sure that you were aware of that and that was on your radar. And then finally, I want to talk about the CHS Track 5 community. And I've talked to Mary Beth, her communications specialist, about putting something out that, it is our intention to have the community use the track, and that, further information will be coming. So I wanted to let you know that milling and paving at the high school is set to begin July 14th. Joe Netto has been working to get a date as to when that will end. And he has not received a date yet. I met with Joe today. He is going to meet with a company that's doing that again on Monday, so that we can have, at least a timeframe that we feel is acceptable.
Can I just ask a question about that? So we have had conversations before. I mean, we have a wonderful relationship with the city of Cohoes, and every time a road is going to be shut down, I get a text message and it says there's milling and paving. Is there any way that we can reach out to the mayor's office and see if we can communicate the milling and paving at the high school, because that entire campus is going to be shut down, so that it goes out to the larger community to say that campus is going to be closed.
Great idea, yeah.
Yeah, and in addition to our parents' square, yes, thank you.
Yeah,
That's a
I mean,
good idea.
parent square is one
Yeah,
thing, but
yeah, for the
not all of us are
community.
parents.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, I'm still.
You
I
are.
just-
You're not a parent square parent.
That's right. That's it.
And so once the milling process starts, there is a lot of dust and and that's the concern. It was also brought up that there are 5 concrete slabs right at the entrance to the gate of the track that need to be fixed. So, but Joe, in talking today, told me that that should not be a deterrent when that happens, because there's an entryway down by the student parking lot. The only problem with that entryway is it does not have camera access. So we're going to want to talk about that. So I've had discussions with Jeff. So that is the construction piece around things. So, if it's 2 weeks after the 14th, something like that, we're hoping for August. I've had discussions with Jeff and Laura as to track usage. They do have concerns about just having that fence open all the time, so the proposal, and this will be going forward from when construction is done to the future, is that it would be open April 1st to November 1st, with the indoor track open November 1st through April 1st. And I'll share this all with you. No use of the outside track when there's practices or games. Thinking about hours such as 5 to 8:30, 5 to 8, and then during the school year, we have security on until 9. So during the school year, that's something that security could, unlock, monitor through the videos and lock. Their request is over the summer, and again, it can be that we have a custodian or a cleaner lock and unlock. The concern is about the turf and the track, could we have safety for a few hours each, night over the summer? So that's the conversation that's happened. Using family ID again, just like inside, and also potentially looking at if it's not going to be a safety, officer in the summer, a kind of a smart lock with a code. So that is another option. So we have the parameters, believe when the paving and milling is over, we'll be able to start. We want to put something out there. We will do that soon. Mary Beth already has the draft, because I know there's been a lot of questions.
Yep.
Thoughts, comments?
I can't remember if we talked about this or not. I know this is a sensitive subject because I love dogs, everyone loves dogs, but is there a sign there when you're, like, we have the public up running around the outdoor track that there's no animals, knowing as a runner on the old track that it was definitely an issue with that, and that could create havoc on that field. So I just want to make sure that we're covering those bases.
I think we need signage.
Yeah, I think we talked about that,
So,
the rules and responsibilities,
Right.
including when there's events.
Yeah.
There should not be animals on the campus when there's events.
So so facilities and Jeff talked about the signage. There are some signs that we currently have that we'll do temporarily, and then, can have additional signage. I know the signs that they currently have had no animals on them, just so you know. And if that's something in terms of, we'll make sure it's publicized as well.
I mean, personally, I feel like providing access to the community for the track is something that we should do and should consider. I don't think blanket access is a great idea. It's not like, we have science classrooms that we let them come in and do experiments, but, the track use is, definitely a benefit that we can offer the community. I think having open timeframes, I think 5 to 8 is a great time, but also there's a lot of people that exercise in the morning, first thing in the morning. And I don't know if that's been a consideration. I know that we have had a little bit of cost savings with our project, and I would rather look at investing in a permanent solution of some sort of key fob or sign in or swipe pass or something along those lines. It's one thing for us to put in cameras that somebody could kind of monitor, but they could monitor those anywhere. They don't actually have to be physically on campus to monitor cameras. If we were to have something that was a little bit more secure, people would have to still sign up and we would know that they were our community residents. But it would offer that a little bit of protection. Also, if it were a key fob system or a card system, we would know who was accessing at what time. And I feel like it makes the most sense for us to invest in something more permanent than to say, I mean, I appreciate having a safety monitor there or whatever, in the short term until we can figure out a solution. But I mean, this is not a surprise project. We knew this was happening. We talked about this, since December. And in the mornings, during and in the evenings during the winter time, it's a lot easier. There is a single point of entry and there is a person there that is able to monitor, from a few feet away. It's not as open and as expansive as the outdoor section. So I think that it makes sense for us to look at a more permanent solution and invest in something that is going to work for years to come and not have to rely on, paying somebody to be there nights and weekends, if it could be solved by a little bit of technology. I don't know. Your thoughts?
Yeah.
Anything we can do to be able to get the community who supported these projects back, being able to utilize them, but also utilize them where we have protections in place that, so that we know who's there when. I agree. I think technology would be a great idea.
So, there are suggestions. We have that, for that. Jeff?
I just want to be clear, like, I don't want to put a Band-Aid on it. I want us
I-
to fix and be able to set times and dates and say, okay, even if you use your fob during this time and we have it blacked out, you can't get in. You know, I think that I just want to make sure, and listen, it's all of us making these decisions, but I think that it's smart for us to go down this road. And if you have something else to say, please say.
Would it be available for students as well? Like, would there be an age limit? Like our high school students should be able to use it if they're in track, doing track, want to practice after hours.
I don't,
Not so much for maybe elementary, but.
I think.
I know that, Mr. Huno and, like, some of the coaches have already been working on, like, letting the kids come and practice.
Yeah.
Like, weight room time or whatever.
Yes.
I know that there are other times, but I'm not sure of when.
I'd say yes to our high school students. We have for games, et cetera, the middle school students need to be accompanied by adults, so I think we would follow the same model. Temporarily, once school starts out, and I hear the long-term best solution, but from that time period after school till 9, when we do have the safety monitor at that door, the track is very, very visible, so they could see that. Ideally, it's not, you don't want the lock, but they can see that then too, as we work through that.
I mean, that's great. I think that offers another level, if we need more cameras out there. We have invested, millions of dollars to make this a beautiful facility. To share it is wonderful, but also we need to protect it. So.
And PJ was up there on putting some cameras in quite a while ago, I remember, so.
I think I saw him rolling his eyes when I said, let technology do the work.
Okay. Right. Before we do board level committees, do you have anything, Stacy?
Just that, I'll have funding recommendations for reserves at the July 30th. I didn't make it for the July 2nd meeting, I'm sorry. MMB will be in mid-August. We talked about that. You can't hear me because of the fans, sorry. So funding recommendations for the reserves. I thought I'd have it for this meeting, but I'll have it next time we meet. MMB, it's our financial auditors. They'll be in mid-August.
Okay.
That's for the second part of the financial statement, that audit. I'm working on the final cost reports for phase 1 of the capital project, so it's a work in progress. I expect to have that done by the end of next week. That has to be submitted to SED, and then that factors in the long-range plan for aid, for building aid. And purchasing update, we had a committee for grades 1 and 2 for new furniture district-wide. So that has been ordered through Nickerson, and the plan is for a delivery for this summer. We were able to do that through savings that we realized we didn't purchase a truck that was planned for facilities. And then also materials and supplies money. We had some money left over at the elementary level. We were able to fund grades 3, 4, and 5 through American Rescue Plan. So it's nice that we're able to do that for grades 1 and 2, and the elementaries are outfitted with nice new furniture.
Great. Thank you.
So sometimes at the reorg, but not always, we appoint board level committees. What the plan is, and I know this year, we want to make sure that Sarah has an idea of what all the committees are and refresh those of you who might not have served on certain committees, so that if you want to add another committee or two to your plate, Mr. Giroux, you can.
I don't know why she's picking on you.
So what I am going to do is just go through the committees. You can ask Stacy and I any questions. The audit committee requires three. It's the only committee, correct, Stacy, that does require three. The purpose of that committee is to really read and discuss the annual audit report, meet with the auditors, look at any risk assessments, make a recommendation on accepting the audit report, look at any corrective action plans that the district needs to be put in place. The audit committee has a full charter with many things that are outlined, but that's the main area. And Stacy, always one meeting, sometimes two. And the meetings are typically what part of the year?
Fall, they're in the fall. Unless we need to hire a new audit firm. And then we have a second meeting usually in the spring.
The budget committee, that's probably our committee that meets the most often, but over a condensed period of time during budget season. So anyway, last year audit was Mrs. Giller, Ms. Paradis, and Ms. Snyder. Budget was Mr. Jackson and Mrs. Snyder. Thank you for joining us this year. I'm sure you had tons of fun, and a lot of times, once you're a member of that, you want to stay on for at least a couple of years. But again, meet with the members of the budget committee to hear the needs assessments, the recommendations in terms of what each of the buildings needs based on return on investment, looking at data. District-wide safety typically meets twice a year, can be 3 times. The purpose of that, the charge is to review the district-wide safety plan and make recommendations to enhance the safety of the buildings in the district. And the safety committee this year was Ms. Gendron, Mrs. Giller, and Ms. Paradis. And the police chief and fire chief and mayor are also on the committee, along with committee members. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. That charge of that committee is to make recommendations for programs and practices that lead to equitable outcomes and help develop a welcoming and inclusive environment for all students. That committee needs to re-up 2 to 3 times a year. The technology committee, which investigates technologies that foster 21st century skills for students and staff. So identify goals, make recommendations for the district technology plan 2 to 3 times a year. Mr. Giroux and Mrs. Snyder were on that committee. And then finally, the wellness committee, again, 2 or 3 times a year. And Mrs. Gendron and Mr. Giroux. And that committee assesses current activities, programs, and policies in the district, looks at our wellness policy, evaluates it, and makes recommendations in terms of student wellness and educational programs and student activities. So I can share these with you in advance of the next meeting with everyone. And we'll be at the next meeting that we decide committee members or who to.
And then we could approve it at the next meeting.
Right.
So after hearing all that excitement, does anyone do we want to go through each of the committees individually? So audit committee previously, myself.
Ms. Paradis, Mrs. Paradis, and Mrs. Snyder.
So I would be interested in remaining on the audit committee. It's super fun. Anyone else interested in participating?
Yes. I will say. Look at that.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to Budget Committee. Budget Committee, Mr. Jackson,
Stay.
okay? And who else was Ms. Snyder
I will stay.
stepped in? Okay.
All right.
Thanks again.
Anybody else interested in budget?
There's spreadsheets.
District-wide Safety Committee. I will stay on, Ms. Burwell.
I would like to stay on as well.
Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. Any interest for participation there?
I'll do that one.
What's that? We
Join.
only need two. Oh, well, we don't actually need, this one's not limited, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
You interested?
Sure.
Yeah. Technology Committee?
I'll stay on that one.
Okay.
That's fine.
Who was?
This is my,
Wellness Committee?
Like to stay on.
Mrs. Burwell, Mrs. Gendron? And let's not forget
we forgot.
policy.
Sorry, policy.
I was wondering why that, we do away with it.
No, that's
I
me.
mean,
We're not having a policy.
I'll do the policy.
Okay, so Ms. Curtis?
I'll do policy too. Wasn't that mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want me to read them?
Can you just read it? What?
Oh, yeah.
So we're just gonna go through and make sure if you want anything changed, please jump out. We're not approving these until the next
Okay.
meeting, so we
Yeah.
can have
think
some
so.
thought about it, but Ashley has it?
Yep.
Okay, can you read through, please?
Sure. So for Audit Committee, I have Mrs. Geller, Mrs. Snyder, and Mrs. Paradis. Budget, I have Mr. Jackson and Mrs. Snyder. Safety, I have Mrs. Geller, Mrs. Gendron, Mrs. Burwell. Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, I have Mrs. Snyder and Mr. Jaros. Technology, just Mr. Jaros. Should I miss, is it just him for that?
I'll join Technology
Oh,
Committee. I'll switch. There we go. Now we go.
Now we got two.
We're gonna be buds this year.
Get a,
All right, Wellness, I have Mrs. Gendron and Mrs. Burwell. And then Policy Committee is Mrs. Paradis and Mr. Dross.
And me.
Oh,
I'm staying on policy.
okay.
And what about the facilities?
Did I miss that?
Facilities committee.
Oh,
Aha.
another one.
I would like to stay on that as well.
Me too.
I'll stay on that as well.
I don't think we have any.
Got an A. Sorry there.
What about this?
I know, right?
Who is it for facilities? Mr. Jackson, Mrs. Gendron,
And Mrs. Paradis.
and, thank you.
So again, those will be on our next agenda once you review. If you want anything changed, let me know. Or let Ashley. Okay, so we'll move on to tonight's agenda. Does the board have any discussion on agenda items? Now, this is the business meeting agenda. Thank you. Discussion? Any community discussion of agenda items for the business agenda? Okay. And I just want to clarify 8A does need to be on consent, correct?
Yes,
I'm just verifying my worksheet.
you are correct.
Okay. Okay, so this is designation of the consent agenda. Can I get a motion that the Board of Education adopt the following resolutions of the July 2nd, 2025 agenda and addenda 6A through M, 7A through DD, 8A, and 10A?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Mr. Jackson,
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes.
Mrs. Gendron.
Yes.
Mrs. Paredes,
Yes.
Mr. Giros.
Yes.
Mrs. Burwell
Yes.
and Mrs. Geller.
Yes. The board has accepted a donation from Abram Lansing's parent-teacher organization for end of field trip transportation. We also did board policy review. This is first reading of school district records, community relations, and students and personal electronic devices. That was difficult. So I think next one we decided we're gonna go straight in, we're not doing second read, right? We'll go straight on to the next agenda for those. So if you have any questions or changes on those, please let us know. Dates for future meeting, actually, no, I skipped right over if we have comments from Board of Education members on anything not related to the agenda.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say that I was very disappointed to have missed out on all the end of year activities, but I heard many positive reviews of everything that happened. Even our no longer middle school principal gave a speech that had people in tears in the audience, and I just want to commend him on that. And we will miss him, but we absolutely welcome Ms. Rock to the position. But also that there was a lot of positive feedback on all the end of year activities.
I would also like to add, I believe that our students who gave speeches at graduation were phenomenal. They were excellent speakers. They did a great job, and I just wanted to
We have some amazing kids, amazing kiddos. I can tell you from being at all of these events, they were wonderful. They were wonderful. I think everything was really well attended. We had some great speakers, both students and adults. And, you can't forget about the people in the background who work so hard to make those things happen.
Absolutely.
Programs, the flowers, all the things making the day-to-day work. So appreciate all of.
Pictures were great as well.
Yeah.
So that was Ryan Franchi, I believe.
It was. Yes. Bear Digital, I think they have them up on the website, or Laura has at least
Yep.
sent out a link to access those pictures for high school graduation.
Yep, it's already been shared on social media. I've already gone through them. They were great.
Very good. Anything else? She take your, what was
She
it?
did.
Okay.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
Say-
It's just because that's one of the favorite parts of being on the board is attending all of the end of year and how excited the kids are and, how proud they are and all of that stuff and how proud the parents are. So it was a bummer to miss it. I was pretty upset.
I do want to add in, I forgot that we did also have the senior awards since the last meeting, correct? And a huge thank you to our community for all of the donations. Absolutely phenomenal to see our kids receive those awards. It was really great. And
I think it was $117,000.
$117,000 that we were able to give away to these kids, and that's just amazing. So thank you to the support of our community for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any comments from anyone in the community regarding anything at all?
Wow, you're very talkative tonight.
So yes, we'd like to thank our student board members for being here with us. Forward to having you
us.
here. I hope you got a little bit of the gist of how this runs, and we look forward to your participation. We will have conversations and discuss potentially, what might work best for you, whether that's a report out or just to kind of, interject in some of our communications and conversations. So we'll have some thoughts about that. We're going to meet together with the superintendent and we'll bring it back at the next meeting and discuss with the rest of you so that we can make sure we have participation. So thank you guys so much. Dates for future meetings, we have July 30th right here at the middle school at 6 p.m. Can I get a motion to enter into executive session at 7:05 p.m. to discuss matters leading to the appointment, employment, promotion, demotion, discipline, suspension, dismissal, or removal of a particular person or corporation, to discuss the superintendent's evaluation, and to discuss CSEA negotiations?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you.
I'll second it.
Mr. Jackson,
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder,
Yes.
Mrs. Gendron,
Yes.
Mrs. Paradis,
Yes.
Mr. Droz,
Yes.
Mrs. Burwell,
Yes.
and Mrs. Geller.
Yes. Thank you very much for coming. We'll see you next time. We don't plan on returning back to open session. Thank you.